When approaching or rounding a mark, an outside yacht shall keep clear, and a faster moving yacht approaching another yacht from the rear shall stay clear of a yacht that has started her rounding maneuver. That is the definition, started her rounding maneuver. When yachts sailing on the wind on opposite tacks are approaching a mark, the port tack yacht shall keep clear of the starboard tack yacht. Each yacht shall be entitled to room to cross the finish line is also part of it. The addition that says that when you're sailing on the wind, that means at the windward mark, a port tack yacht may not claim that he's inside of all the he's inside of all the other yachts that are on starboard. The starboard tack yachts are on starboard, the port tack yacht is on port, and just because he's right at the mark and he's got to go around it like this, he's not really inside, he's on port tack. That had to be added.
Yeah. Why don't we go through the 8 scenarios that are in the diagrams that we have, and then we can go through specific questions on each of those.
So, in this scenario, let's have I think this is a good time to have a discussion about what rights does someone right on the ley line, port tacker, have in this situation?
None,
Zero.
according to B.
Zero.
Zero.
To be able to have this, you have to have the sail on the other side, and it has to be drawing, and the boat needs to be moving. You can't do that if you're right on that, and that's an important thing. There's no like buoy room or anything like that. But if that does happen, you've got to get the hell out of the way, obviously, because if someone comes up and doesn't know that, that's why overstanding is always a good situation sometimes to be in, right there. Let's discuss when the rule changes and where does the rule change that this boat now coming around is going to have a right of way.
You gotta be on the other side of the mark, you gotta be past the center line. One thing that here that isn't one of the normal scenarios that you run into all the time for people, there are people who sail the course more correctly and like to come in overstood. The boat coming in overstood, when he's next to the boat that's on the tightly hauled ley line, this guy does not have the right to pinch this guy off at the mark because he gets up to the top here and he wants to dive down. He cannot pinch this guy off at the mark. He's outside, he's got to stay outside.
Until he gets past.
Until he gets past. He's got to clear this guy and let this guy around the mark before he dives down. Now, of course, what happens is this guy if he's pinching much more and this guy's overstood and he's cranking, what'll happen is this guy will go right around the mark and he can't head up and heat up. He's got, now that he's rounding the mark, once he passes the center line, he's got to stay down when this guy dives down on him, because he's got to. Now he becomes the leeward boat, once he passes that center line.
And that's such a difference from saltwater sailing, obviously, where people would protect their wind by luffing up. That's a good point to contend the difference. Okay, that's coming into the windward mark starboard. Here's coming in on port to the windward mark.
Leeward mark.
That's the windward mark.
Oh, windward mark?
Yeah, this is still the windward
On
mark.
port tack.
Okay.
This is show a port tack, two
This is
boats
port
on
tack.
port.
Port
Okay.
tack. And that's really no different. Does everyone see that that's no different? Okay.
An outside yacht shall keep clear, and a faster moving yacht approaching another yacht from the rear shall stay clear of a yacht that has started her rounding maneuver. This diagram is more of you got inside outside very clear and overlap there. And
Sometimes it's not so clear.
the question.
Don't take out the race for
You want 8D1. No, that's this one.
There's no such word as overlap.
Right, no overlap, no overlap.
Sometimes you overlap there.
I said that in that picture they're overlapped. I wasn't applying it to a rule.
What's that?
In that picture, they are overlapped, but that's not, one's inside, one's outside.
Right.
8D2.
D2?
8D2.
Does not have the right to secure the operating boat.
Oh, this is a great picture, great picture.
Yeah. So this is your overtaking boat from behind. He may be going a lot faster. This he probably is because this guy is probably to reach this position out here has gone straight downwind, scrubbed off his speed so that he can come in wide and approach tight on his exit from the mark, which is a proper mark rounding. This guy back here is behind. He's behind. His option is to go outside. No other option. That's his option because he's behind. The fact that he thought he was going to be ahead doesn't mean anything. This guy is already making his leeward mark rounding, and he's in the act of rounding. So this guy cannot jam into that hole.
So one of the things that Steve's talking about is,
Because he's gonna hit him if he gets
well,
overpowered.
the popular thing to do at the leeward mark is to get wide by doing an S turn. Where, and that'll kind of define when you're making, who knows if that's the definition, right? That's where there's some conflict about it. If you're going to, if you're heading toward the mark and you break away, going downwind to slow speed and then come up is, that's what happens a lot.
It's more of a J.
That's right. Okay, no, that's
You were
maybe.
confusing me with the S.
Right.
It's kind of a
But
J.
people will turn away, and there's this feeling if you're the behind boat is, I got all
Look at
this
the big
room
hole.
to go right in here. He's turning away, I can go straight in. Don't do it. It's, because then as he comes up, shut the door on you. And again, the point of all windward market roundings is to get your energy back upwind.
Leeward
If you
mark.
dive in, I'm sorry, leeward. If you dive in, all you're gonna do is skid around or head downwind and sail more distance. And so it's
Wide and tight so that you get a nice rounding, no skidding, you can carve up around the mark. And that area inside of there always looks so inviting when you're coming to leeward mark.
Sure
But
does.
you end up so far to leeward going upwind, you give away more distance to weather by coming in tight and hot than you did by going wide and rounding and carving up right next to the pin.
Between Bob Cummings and you, do you want to discuss a little bit about this whole, controversy or decisions about when, what determines when a turn is being made and all the rest?
The National Iceboat Authority has met to discuss this 2 or 3 times, and I made a proposal, and I was defeated. So, I made a proposal because the question was, how can we take this, it's simple, seems like a simple rule, but it's really hard for people to judge when they are when they should be forced to go outside and when they think that hole's big enough to go in there. Once the boat's been, so the questions come up, and Bob put all these questions out that are all this is like a multiple choice test. It's actually
love it.
pretty cool.
No, let's not go through all that.
But
Let's not.
when and where does the rounding maneuver start? That's the question. Okay, is this guy in front of me rounding in a rounding maneuver? To me, it's fairly obvious when a boat's in a rounding maneuver, and I know I'm not going in there. And I know that the way I round, which is to go down and then loop and come up close to the other side of the mark, that it leaves a big hole for somebody coming behind. But it also puts me right at the mark when I'm going up. So if somebody goes into the hole, the door is going to be closed when they hit me. Okay? And apparently this is a really common thing in the DNs. This happens all the time because the boats are small, and if the guy makes gets a little wide on the mark round, the other guy thinks he can get in there, and there's collisions that happen with that frequently. So the question is, how do we define it better to let people know for absolutely certain that boat has begun his rounding maneuver? Okay, in the proposal that I made, which I think is the first one. It's I propose that we add to the definition that when the boat actually passes a line that's parallel to the start-finish line, perpendicular to the wind, that goes through the mark, that as soon as any part of that boat passes that line, he's in his rounding maneuver, no matter what it looks like he's doing. And
Which would be that horizontal line on your.
Correct.
it would be, if this is the mark, so, if this is the mark, it would be as soon as any part of that boat passes this line. So when I'm at this line, I'm already here. I'm already doing this, and then I'm down here, and then I come up like this. So as soon as the boat passes the line, well, that also is problematical, cause how do you tell where the line is exactly, and,
Right.
you know, so I,
And what if it's way over there?
yeah.
Right.
Right. So that's why, you know, that was a really simple one if the course was like just this side of the mark. But I couldn't get everybody else on board with that one, and I don't know if it's that great of an idea anyway.
It's a great reference point.
It's a reference point, yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, if you're out here and you're an overtaking boat, relax. You're gonna get them. You're gonna get them on the upwind leg if you go wide and come in. Just, you know, establish a great wide rounding and you've got them. There's no reason to stuff it in there. And, you know, and you may be irritated if you're behind and you see, you know, he's here and he breaks away to go down. You're like, holy cow, he's not even close to being at the, don't worry, just go with him. Go with him, get on the outside of him and come in. You guys will start reaching up there, powering up the boat. And if you can make a really good tight rounding and your speed was better then, you'll just smoke them upwind. It's incredible.
And keep in mind that the whole point of this is not to fine tune the rule, but to keep safety at the forefront.
Yeah.
So,
You know, and to Jim's point, last year at the Night Nationals was a really great fleet. There was bottom mark runnings where there were 4 wide, and everybody, I was in a couple of them, and everybody looked around, gave each other a nod, so we knew that people saw each other inside and outside, so we could, you know, and it was a good breeze, so we could avoid each other and have good mark roundings and great competition.
Yeah.
And if everybody's doing a mark rounding where they're keeping in mind to come in wide, come out tight, and they're all doing that, it's a lot easier for all that to flow. When you get a guy who's heading right at the mark and then cranking the steering runner, what happens is you want to be behind a guy like that, because he's gonna come right down here and he's gonna skid and he's gonna go out like this.